Welcome to the Aledo Bearcats Coaches Show podcast, a presentation of Real Country 92.1 Hank FM. Live from Blue Rays in New Orleans and Hudson Oaks, the Aledo Bearcats Coaches Show podcast is brought to you by H5 Sports Barn in Aledo and Kayleigh Mazda of Fort Worth. And now, here's the voice of the Bearcats, Kevin Lonnquist.
Hello and welcome. I'm Kevin Lonnquist here at Blue Rays of New Orleans here in Hudson Oaks, and they are bringing you the best in authentic Cajun food, and they have other Westoplex locations in Lake Worth and Crowley. We also want to recognize our two presenting sponsors in H5 Sports Barn and Kayleigh Mazda of Fort Worth. A successful playoff weekend for both softball and baseball. The drive to play for and win a state championship still alive for both the Lady Cats and the Bearcats. Softball is moving into the Class 5A Division I Region I semifinals. Baseball is through to the 5A Division I Region I area round. Softball easily handled Burleson in its one-game playoff last Thursday at Saginaw Chisholm Trail, winning that game 13-2. Lady Cats are now 27-3. I'm letting Coach Myers know what the record is, by the way. They play Amarillo in the semifinals on Wednesday. Amarillo is 27-8. It's a one-game playoff. This is not so shocking that it's another one-game playoff. What are the odds that they would have a one-gamer? But the first pitch for that game will be at 6:30 up in Iowa Park along the Red River. That's just a little bit to the northwest of Wichita Falls. And that's kind of figured where they were going to do that because you have to find a central location because Amarillo was coming basically from the Panhandle, of course. Baseball had to go 3 last week, but handled a stubborn Birdville team and won it in 3 games. Won game 1 in Aledo last Thursday 2-0. Lost game 2 at Birdville last Friday 2-0. Then won the deciding third game on Saturday at Birdville 6-0. Don't think I've seen a series where all the games were decided via a shutout, but that's what happened in this one. And, of course, the Bearcats were on the right side of that. They are going to be in a best-of-3 series with Arlington Heights. The Yellow Jackets are 22-8. Should mention, too, that the Bearcats are 25-7. Game 1 will be 7:30 Thursday at Aledo. Game 2 will be 7:30 Friday at Arlington Heights. And the deciding game will be, if they need it for Saturday, will be a noon start at Saginaw High School. 2-segment podcast as we will open this time with softball and head coach Heather Myers and junior third baseman Kayleigh Pawlak, who is having a huge postseason. I mean huge. These numbers that I'll quote for you here in just a little bit will kind of will kind of catch your attention for sure. Then it will be baseball head coach Chad Berry and junior right-hander Luke Sandefur in our second segment. All right. Time now to visit with Heather Myers and Kayleigh Pawlak. First of all, congratulations to you, Coach Myers. You guys got the jump early. And that's the thing that I've noticed is that when you guys put up crooked numbers early in games, and it doesn't matter if it's district, but really in the series last week, the previous series against Colleyville Heritage and, of course, last week, that really does give you some momentum, and maybe it kind of puts a lot of pressure on the opponent. Just take us through what you saw in that win against Burleson.
Sure. So we were prepared for Burleson. I got to see a lot of film on them, and I felt like we prepared over the 3 days during the week to really know what they were going to be pitching, knew how we were going to approach everything at the plate. Mm-hmm. So I really feel like, again, we always talk about discipline at the plate. I can't say it enough. But they took all that stuff that we talked about, mm-hmm. and they put it into action at mm-hmm. the plate, and just that momentum. I mean, once one kid starts hitting, it's very much contagious for our team. So definitely proud of everything that I saw offensively.
Yeah, and I was going to say on top of that, you talk about so much about having a plan at the plate for your lineup. I know you won't divulge secrets, of course, about things here and there, but because of the depth of this lineup, what's the difference that you have noticed in the way opposing pitchers approach your hitters as opposed to when you scouted these pitchers and the way they were throwing the ball, the way they were throwing against other opponents, that sort of thing?
I think it's really difficult for other teams, because you see so much success with your pitchers. I mean, obviously Burleson mm-hmm. was doing pretty good. They had a really good season, mm-hmm. And they saw a lot of success on the mound. Mm-hmm. But then you run into a team like ours who we don't chase those pitches that mm-hmm. they normally get outs on, Right. So both their pitchers were razzball pitchers. I can't really say what that third pitcher was throwing. I can't remember, but mm-hmm. the ones that I really scouted were razzball and curveball. And so we knew what to lay off of. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard to, when you're that type of pitcher and the kids aren't, chasing the pitches that you normally go for strikeouts, you have to put it somewhere or you're going to walk everybody.
Has there been kind of a predominant style that you've seen that teams have tried to challenge this lineup with? Have they tried to climb on? Kayleigh, I'll ask you about this too in just a moment because she's nodding her head in agreement about before I even get the question out. But anyway, is it just that you've seen that some teams have just tried to go like, try and chase you high in the zone, or have they tried to get you to chase low and away? What have you seen here? Basically, we're talking 30 games here, so.
I mean, majority is going to be the Rasball that we've seen. There are some that have some really good drop curves, that they've seen that we've chased, and so they try to continue throwing that pitch, and then we, eventually we lay off once we identify what we're chasing. But yeah, I would say rise and curve, drop curve is what we've seen most people come at us with.
Try to change the eyes a little bit,
Yes.
For sure. Okay, Kayleigh, let's talk about your postseason. Hitting in the 3-hole, and this is what she's done so far in this postseason. Again, 3 games, a batting average of only .667, an on-base percentage of only .667, only 9 RBIs. Are you worried about losing your spot in the lineup is what I'm asking you. I'm just kidding about that. But seriously, what's been going well for you in these 3 games in the postseason?
Definitely discipline, because I'm a type of hitter that, like, I don't swing at good like sometimes I don't swing at good pitches, but the few I have been, and they've been like making come inside on me, and that's my pitch is for sure an inside pitch. So like them making them throw that to me has definitely been a tactic.
Okay, is that something though? So not knowing your stance, do you kind of crowd the plate? Do you kind of stand up? Okay, so when you crowd it, okay, and if you say you like it inside, so tell us how you handle that pitch.
Well, I have an open stance too, so I start really wide open, and then I crowd the plate, and like I just take my hands with it, or I go the other way.
Okay, got you on that. Okay, so to the question I asked Coach Myers a few moments ago about how the way these teams are pitching you all. Definitely she talked about the rise ball being a thing that they want to have you guys chase high, but then they're going to have you also, or maybe they're going to try and have you chase low and away. What have you seen as a batter? And then when you see that pitch traditionally game in and game out, what's the biggest adjustment that you've had to make to kind of lay off those pitches to make sure you get your pitch?
The rise ball for sure, like getting to the back of the box and seeing it as a ball, because I'm in the front of the box kind of hitter normally. So like making the adjustment, going to the back, I've laid off that pitch a lot, or it's just been as a ball.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about your overall season. Great so far, a batting average of .437, 20 extra base hits, 11 doubles, 5 triples, 4 home runs, 38 RBIs. I think maybe the most impressive thing here about the season so far is that you've only had 4 strikeouts, which is really doing it. That's really stuffing a stat sheet here. I mean, I want to talk about maybe what you looked at on film as you came off your sophomore year and even playing during summer ball and that sort of thing. What changes you might have made to your swing with your stance? You say you crowd the plate a little bit and you have a wide stance, but just what did you do in relation from the way you approached it last year at the plate to what you're doing now?
I would say like not giving a weak pitch. Like outside, I've been really working on that because that's not been my strongest pitch like for my whole career. So like definitely hitting that outside corner with my hitting coach for sure, driving it to right field, getting those extra bases off of like gap hits to right and then gap hits to left too.
Okay, and so anything you did like with your hands, did you drop your hands, raise them up? Did you change anything about just your stance or anything like that? Or what did you do there, if anything?
I just like top hand strong for sure, because I also drop my hands a little bit sometimes because I get excited. So I'll drop my hands, and then I just have to keep my top hand strong, and then I'll hit a line drive normally.
She puts you in the 3rd hole there. That's the most productive part in the lineup there. So tell me what that means to you. That's a lot of confidence that a coach has in a hitter for that spot.
Yeah, normally Addie will lead us off and get on base somehow if it's a walk, if it's a hit. Delaney will do her job, whether it's a bunt or moving Addie some way, and then I always try and find a way to get Addie in because Marina's right behind me and I know that she can drive me in. That's like our sequences is like Delaney will move Addie or get on, and then I'll move them, and then Marina moves me, and it's just contagious around the lineup because we can get extra base hits and move a runner like so fast. Like it doesn't take very much for us to move runners and score.
But your ability to take pitches the opposite way, if you can go to right center, that makes you much more difficult to pitch to. Is that something that you did a lot more this year as opposed to as a sophomore, or is that something you've always done?
I think I did it a little bit more this season, but I've definitely hit left field a lot this season, strong. Like, that's where my home runs are. They're all left center, left field. But I hit that ball really hard to right field, too, most of the time.
Okay, one more question for you about playing the hot corner at third. It's a reaction position, and so what's been the key for you learning all the nuances of this position, even from last year to this year? What do you like about it? What's the stress of playing it?
I don't really stress because our pitchers do their jobs a lot, like, all the time. But, like, I've learned to, like, stay down and stay confident because I have, like, a really good arm. So, like, I can take my time and, like, field a ball cleanly and, like, take my time and make a throw. Like, I don't have to rush it. I don't, like, I do sometimes, but, like, but just taking my time and, like, reacting to the ball instead of just, like, immediately just throwing it because I don't have to. I have the time.
Gotcha on that. All right, Coach Myers, I want to ask you a little bit about when you put Kayleigh at the number 3 spot in the lineup. There's obviously certain attributes that a coach has to identify for someone to fill that spot. What did you see?
She's consistent. She hits the ball hard, obviously, but consistency is what I'm looking for. Somebody who's going to be able to drive runs in. So if our leadoff gets on, 2-hole moves her over somehow, then Kayleigh's up for the RBI. So I was looking for consistency, somebody who's going to hit line drives, not pop out a lot, and Kayleigh does that very well. So she doesn't swing for the fence. I know she has 4 home runs, but she doesn't swing like she's trying to hit it out of the park. She swings like she's trying to move runners, and that's what you want. But always a 3-hole, I want consistency, high batting average, consistent.
Was that new for her, or did you play her there last year, or if you didn't, and you put her in the third spot this year, the 3rd hole rather this year, what convinced you this was the move to make?
Well, she flip-flopped for a little bit this season. She was 5-hole for 90% of the season last year, and she flip-flopped a couple of times this year from 5 to 3, back to 5, back to 3. But what locked her into the 3-hole was just being that consistent hitter. She's somebody that I wanted in the lineup to be seen in the first inning. I wanted her to see that pitcher because, I mean, she's tall, she's powerful. She crowds the plate, which a lot of pitchers don't like, so she makes them throw a lot of pitches, and it gives other people more time to see more pitches. So she's the real deal.
Yeah, we've talked so many players on your team about leadership, reliability, that sort of thing. And when you have that kind of trust in her to anchor that side of the infield and putting her in that spot in the lineup there, I mean, that, again, that's faith, too. That's also going with your gut, too, in some respects, I would think.
For sure. No, she's definitely a leader on the field, whether she wants to be or not. She's a leader. She's a vocal leader. If you know anything about Kayleigh, she's vocal. But I love it. I love it because she's not just a vocal leader. She leads through example. The way she plays, whether it's offense or defense, she's showing up for her team every day. She's not a selfish player. She never has been. She never will be. So that's what you want in a leader on the field, especially somebody as productive as she is. So I'm very proud of her.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about Amarillo. As we said, the Sandies are 27-8. They are 4-0 in the postseason. They swept Abilene Cooper in the opening round 2 weeks ago, then swept El Paso Chapin in the area round last week. Give us a scouting report on them.
They're not bad. They're not bad, but I watched a little bit of game film so far. They struggle defensively. I don't know if they're listening to this. I hope not. But
Too late. But
from what I've seen, there's been some struggle defensively. So we're going to try to capitalize on that. Their pitchers are going to put the ball in the zone that we can hit. From what I can see, I mean, we're obviously good hitters. We can hit any part of the zone that if the catcher can catch it. Marina said it one day. If the catcher can catch it, we should be able to hit it. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. And so we're going to put the ball in play, and we're going to capitalize on any mistakes that they make. But, I mean, again, we're not going to take anybody for granted. They're going to be competitive. They're coming to beat us just like everybody else does. So we play a clean 21 outs, and we hit the ball the way we do. Our pitchers are going to do their job. We should win.
All right. Kayleigh, for you, when you're playing an opponent that you're not familiar with, is that something that you guys will study a lot of film on your own, or you'll work with the coaches on? Or how will you prepare for a game like this since you haven't seen Amarillo at all?
We do both. Like, a lot of us go home and try and find game changer film so we can, like, study it ourselves. But our coach, like, she prepares us all week. Like, she'll only throw us the pitches that they're throwing. Or she'll prepare us in the defense, like, that they're going to hit. Because, like, we're just going to be prepared for it. Like, we all go home and watch film. Like, Saturday was prom, and we had it on the TV because we were watching film all together.
Okay. All right. I would imagine, Coach Myers, when you talk to these opposing coaches about putting these playoffs together, that you don't get very far talking with them about going into a best-of-3 format. You did, obviously, with Colleyville Heritage, but you've been doing this a lot over the years about the one-game playoff. I mean, it's a been there, done that kind of thing. It's still kind of a stressful thing, but is it any part of you that says, why do I even want to bring this up with the 3-game series with any opposing coach? Because I already know what the answer is going to be on this.
Yeah, it's comical at this point. There's really no point in me asking. Well, when I spoke to the coach for Amarillo, like it was a text message, and immediately it was, "Hey, I want a one game," and I said, "Well, I assumed that." At this point, that's all I can assume. Not trying to be cocky or anything, because it's not. But
yeah, they had best-of-3 series with their other 2 opponents, but for you, now we're not doing that.
That's exactly right. I was like, "Come on, man, you can do this."
And so,
but I actually agreed to the one game this time. We didn't have to flip. I didn't tell you all that. Sorry. Because of AP
breaking
testing.
news.
Yeah, breaking news. Sorry. AP testing is important.
Well, that's what I was going to say, because that's maybe this one a little bit different because it is a midweek game. It's not the typical Thursday, Friday, or Saturday format. It's a Wednesday evening game. So, and you and Amarillo, obviously, you said a moment ago, agreed to the one game because of all this AP testing. Hello, we're still in school, and so I can't believe it, right, Kayleigh? I mean, it's not. I mean, I realize it's not your scene, but we still have to go to class and pass and all that sort of thing. And so, just because of that, is that something? And because of the fact that I would think too, perhaps if this was an opponent that was regionally closer, maybe you could have gone for the series, maybe pushed for it more. But because of where they're coming from, logistically, it wasn't going to make sense.
Right. Had they been closer, I would have made them flip. But being 2.5, 3 hours away, however far they are driving to Iowa Park, excuse me, it was a no-brainer just to try to do one game.
Gotcha on that. Okay, so if you get through on Wednesday, you will get the winner of Abilene and Birdville. They're playing a best-of-3 series. That's going to be starting Thursday in Graham. And I guess, obviously, since you all play on Wednesday, you would be able to finish. We're crossing our fingers here that that's going to be a W, so that would make you drive over to Young County and scout. Or how would you handle, or would you send coaches to that series to watch those 2 teams play, or how would you handle that from a advanced preparation standpoint?
You said it's in Graham?
That's what they said.
That's my hometown.
Okay.
I'll be going.
Okay, well, that is your home. Okay, well,
I'll be
then.
going.
Okay, so you have a free place to stay then.
I do.
Okay. But anyway, having said that, I mean, would you and your entire staff go to scout and like look at everything about these teams too, and that
Absolutely.
sort of thing?
I definitely need my staff with me, because more eyes on them, the better. Like, I asked Coach Wilmer to come with me to the last game to watch. We already watched Birdville and Centennial. We went to that game.
Great game, by the way. It finished 8-7.
It was a great game.
Yeah.
9 innings.
Yeah.
But yeah, super great game. But it was good to have her there, because she can watch one side of the game, I can watch the other. We really complement each other, so I'll ask her to go with me for sure.
Okay.
Should we win?
All right, Kayleigh, as we wrap this up about you all, of course, tell us about your plans this coming summer. Of course, we talked a little bit before we went on the air to record this that you are getting some college looks. You have been talking to Troy University down in Alabama. What are you looking at as far as, like, what do you want to try and do as far as this summer is concerned, things that you're working on? And then are there any camps that you might want to try and go to try and get your name out there as far as, schools that might get your attention that maybe you've kind of heard from but maybe not heard from? Or how will you handle this in terms of just creating more visibility for yourself on the recruiting circuit?
We play every weekend this summer, basically. So, like, it's always travel. There's camps everywhere all the time, so, like, you can just find them anywhere. Like, before tournaments, there's a lot of colleges there, and there's always colleges nearby where we play. So definitely just, like, getting my name out there, sending emails, sending videos from my high school, like, series, my stats, all this stuff. Definitely, for sure, posting it.
I was going to say, have you learned about how much with a junior, as being a junior, your junior year is really critical in terms of your recruiting. It's like if you're a senior and you're only working at getting your name out there now, it's too late in a lot of respects. So what kind of advice did you get about getting after this part of it early to make yourself as well known as possible?
Well, I played on a national team over the summer, and got my name out there pretty well, but then I ended up switching teams in the fall, which kind of like set me back a little bit because like I was on a completely different team, completely different coaches. So like the fall season was huge for me. We had a lot of college coaches there, but we stayed pretty local. A lot of DFW tournaments, not very far because of school. But over the summer, we were traveling everywhere. So I like am like guaranteed looks everywhere. So it's good.
As far as where will your summer team be traveling this June and July? Do you have any idea yet, or have you even looked at the schedule, or is that like
That's an after high school kind of thing.
That's right, exactly.
Amen, sister.
That's the attitude that we want to look for right there, exactly. Nice work on that. Coach, just one final thought about as far as getting ready for Wednesday, because the fact that the schedule is a little bit, if you will, disjointed because of this midweek. What was the preparation like for this week, and do you kind of have to cram things together, or do you have to treat it a little, or can you treat it the same, rather?
We're trying to treat it the same. Sorry, I have something in my throat. But 2 days, we're going to do it as simply as we can. The rain kind of put us inside today, so hopefully we'll be on the field tomorrow so we can get some good looks swinging and then get some defense done. But I'm not worried. We'll be fine.
All right, and then what time will you all bus out to Iowa Park?
Probably 12:30.
Okay. Gotcha. So you get out of school at least for part of that.
I get out of school at 11.
Let's see. So look at you. So you're not suffering though, Kayleigh.
2 class periods.
Okay, so there you go. Okay, so you're missing some of it. So, but of course you got to make up what you're missing too, of course. But anyway, first of all, congratulations on the season so far, Kayleigh. We wish you nothing but the best throughout the course of this playoff run. We hope that it goes all the way in to the final game in Austin that last week, that Memorial Day week. Congratulations on your postseason to this point. And Coach, we'll look forward to speaking with you next week. Fingers crossed that we're going to be talking about a W and getting ready to play in the regional championship. Good luck to you all this coming Wednesday.
Thank you.
All right. And we want to remind you that this Aledo podcast is brought to you by H5 Sports Barn. H5 Sports Barn and Knife Physio and Performance can help unlock your athletic potential and elevate your game like the Aledo Bearcats. With expert sports physical therapy, tailored recovery plans, and top-notch sports performance training, H5 Sports Barn, proud supporters of the Aledo Bearcats. And by Hiley Mazda. Head to Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth today. Their new state-of-the-art facility is conveniently located just off of I-30. Exit Las Vegas Trail and experience top-notch service and hassle-free buying. Don't forget to ask about this month's special offers. Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth, family-owned and operated for more than 30 years. Stick around, the second segment of the podcast coming up. Coach Myers is going to get a big drink of water here because she's been fighting it here the last 15 minutes, but we wish her, and again, the Lady Cats, the best of luck. Second segment coming up with the baseball side of things. Chad Berry, the head coach, and Luke Sandefur. You're listening to the podcast on the Aledo Coaches Show Network. We'll be right back. And back here on the Aledo Coaches Show podcast, I'm Kevin Lonnquist. Now time for a couple of Aledo notables. And UIL 5A state track meet was this past Saturday at the University of Texas at Austin at the Mike A. Myers Stadium. And a pretty solid showing for the Aledo contingent that was there. Molly Garrison medaled. She finished third in the 1600. She then finished sixth in the 3200. The boys 4x400 meter relay team finished fourth, but they set a school record in the process. And in the pole vault, Emma Ralph was fifth for the girls, and Braylon Brown was sixth for the boys. And at the Girls State Golf Tournament last week in Austin, Emily Crick with a top 30 finish and a two-day total of 158. Really good showing for her because there's about 100 competitors in that field there between both the teams and the individuals that qualified for that meet. For that tournament, rather. So congratulations to Emily Crick for that top 30 finish. Okay, second segment here as we are joined now with the baseball side of things, head coach Chad Berry and junior right-hander Luke Sandefur. All right, Coach. When we get to the point of the postseason, it's like survive in advance. You got it done Saturday. We talked about last week in this podcast where you thought they were going to be stubborn, not the team that you saw in April on April 5th. The challenge that they presented, what did you come away from that series thinking?
I felt like it kind of went the way I thought. I figured, we would probably throw the first punch on Thursday at home, and then I figured they would come back with something on Friday. I was a little disappointed on Friday because I felt like we actually hit the ball better than them. We had more hits than they did. They just had the right hits at the right time, and we could never pick up the key hit that we needed with guys in scoring position. So Sometimes that's baseball, though. I mean, I credit their pitcher on Friday night. He put them on their shoulders and got them to a game 3. And so, he did a great job of competing and mixing up his pitches and kept us off balance all night.
Yeah, when you get into this postseason, it's basically a 1-week season for everyone, as you mentioned last week. And as you told your team, records means zilch at this point. And so they play like a team that had, hair on fire. They wanted to win and play this week as much as you did.
For sure. I mean, they've got a long history from way back. I can remember being an assistant back when I first started and playing Birdville in the playoffs. And then in 2014 and 15, when we went to the state tournament, we had to get through them in the third round 2 years in a row. And so it's, they've got a storied program as well. They're pretty proud, and they have a lot of tradition as well. And they're a tough team year in and year out.
Yeah. Luke, it's always something about the playoffs that there's always going to be jitters if it's the postseason, and if you don't have jitters or if you're not nervous, maybe you're not humans. But anything that surprised you about that series, the way it turned out, and first of all, congratulations, because we're talking about winning that series too, and so.
Yeah, no, I felt a ton of pressure going into that game 3. I don't know. I guess I kind of wasn't expecting it. I should have been. And I was thinking I was going to relieve that Friday night. But yeah, I was just pretty nervous going into that third game.
For sure. We'll get to that here in a second. Here, of course, you got great pitching throughout the whole series too, Chad. That's the one thing. I mean, you only allowed 2 runs for the entire series. Very strange series too, that all the games were shutouts, depending on who won. But what did you see from your staff about this? And we'll get into the decision why you wanted to start Luke in Game 3 here in a second. But what did you want to get out of your staff? And did you feel like you got exactly what you wanted out of your staff?
Oh, absolutely. I felt like, anytime you pitch, I think we pitched 20 total innings and gave up 2 runs. I mean, if anytime you do that, you should feel really good that you're going to win more than you lose. And
Right.
I'm kind of surprised that we actually lost the game, but credit them. They did a good job the first 2 games of keeping us off balance really for most of the nights, for both nights as well. But no, it kind of was the same thing that we've been doing all year in district. From district on, is we've had really strong pitching. Our starters this week really did a great job of being able to extend themselves. We had Grayson went 7 on Thursday. Devin went 6 on Friday, which because we didn't pitch the 7th because we didn't have a lead going in the bottom of the 7th, so there was no reason. And then Luke ended up going 6 2/3 on Saturday. So, we had guys in the bullpen ready to go, just waiting for the call. And our starters just did a phenomenal job of just keeping the other team off the board, keeping them off balance and things like that. And we were able to save most of our bullpen going into Saturday, not knowing what was going to happen. So having all those guys available, I felt like we had a really, really good advantage going into Saturday.
I was going to say, it's an when you go to a third game, it's all hands on deck.
For sure.
Virtually. Okay, so when you get to, and coaches will map out their pitching plans for a series. You have it for 2 games. That's really easy because you know who your 2 starters are going to be. But when you get to the best of 3 series, you have to make a calculated decision on who do I want to be that Game 3 starter. You went to Luke for Game 3. What went into that decision?
A lot of that goes back to tournament. When we were playing in tournaments and you're playing 6 games in a week, and then we evaluate, okay, who do we feel like gives us the best chance in a third game? Who's going to be able to go the most innings, quality innings, things like that, and then who has the best pitch mix and things like that. And we going into the Azle week, the last week of district, we purposefully extended Luke and shortened Grayson a little bit in that first Tuesday game over at Azle, just to make sure we had extended him a little bit and get him into a situation where he can go out and pitch. I was thinking if we can go get 4 or 5 out of him, that'd be great. And then he was just mowing them down. He seemed to get stronger as the game went on Saturday. And so, really he was about 105 pitches when I went out to get him. And, I don't think he wanted to leave then, but I was like, You've done enough. Right. We've got somebody that can get this last out for you.
For sure. Okay, so this year, by the way, Luke Sandefur, 31 innings pitched, has a record of 3-0. He's made 10 appearances. He has 6 saves. He was, quote-unquote, the closer for this team, an ERA of .44, so less than a half run per game. Luke, when you prepare for the Game 3 start, you obviously had this knowledge that this was going to come for you, that you were going to start the third game. So as you're preparing for this after Friday's result, knowing that it was all or nothing on Saturday, what kind of mindset did you take about studying the opposing lineup for Birdville and getting yourself ready to make that start on Saturday?
I just needed. I knew that I needed to pace myself and not come out and just know that I'm throwing only 2 innings and know that I need to try to go as long as I can. And I kind of did well with that, and I figured out all my pitches by probably the 3rd inning, and I got comfortable and stay consistent through the game.
What was there a point in this game? You talked about the 3rd inning, but what particular series of pitches or what pitch was working for you very well? And when you get ahead in counts, do you try to, obviously you want to try and put them away, but just take us through your sequence and how you went through inning by inning, batter by batter in that start?
I try to mix it up a lot so the hitters aren't knowing that I'm going to be coming with a curveball every 0-2 count or 1-2 count. And so I'll throw a fastball every now and then if they're on that still, then I'll mix in a curveball or changeup. But I try to mix it up as much as I can and not let them see any rhythm that I have or just any consistency with any of my pitches.
You know, the fact that you're going to be considered this team's 3rd starter for the postseason moving forward, I would presume, but when you are working with Devin and Grayson in that start, when you follow those guys, whether it's in a relief or now in a starting situation, what's been key to kind of studying how they go through their starts?
They're really good at going the full length of the game, especially Devin. He's gone, I don't know how many complete games, Coach Barry.
Several.
Yeah, and so I just knew that I needed to get as many innings out of me as I can, and just know that the relievers will come in and do their job as well.
So I just read off your stats, but just tell us about your season overall. What do you feel like has gone well, things that have challenged you? I remember watching you pitch quite a bit last year when I was doing the PA for games last year at Aledo, but just talk about your season as a whole.
I feel like everything's gone pretty well this season. I was kind of expecting the same role going into the season because we have Grayson McKelvey move in, and so I was already had my mind on that relief spot, and so I don't know. It was kind of just the same mindset as last year, coming in and dealing, and then shutting the door on each team. Your
pitches, what improved, what changed, what was better about what you were mixing in there? What is your repertoire, by the way?
My what?
Your pitches that you throw.
I throw a changeup, a curveball, and a fastball, and a sinker.
Okay, so you have a 4 and a 2-seam fastball. Is that
yes, sir?
Okay. Anything that you did with any of those 4 pitches that you worked on in the off season, or even in the summer, or even in January, to kind of make tweaks to those pitches?
The changeup was probably the biggest difference. I had to find that because I wasn't really confident in throwing that any time, and now this year I'm able to throw it almost any time I want. And then it was mainly just strength. I tried to get stronger through the offseason, and the velo has jumped a lot since last year.
Where are you at right now with the velocity with the fastball right now?
I have been up to 93. I'm normally around 88 to 91 each game, and so that has been a huge help during this year.
Chad, how many pitchers on the staff are throwing consistently in the 90s for you? If you had to guess, you said you have 10.
There's at least 4.
5.
5? 4 or 5?
Nick doesn't even pitch really anymore.
Yeah, Nick, our shortstop, can pitch as well, and he'll sit there at 88 to 90.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk about when this Birdville series ended. What was the message to your team, and how did you all start preparing for Arlington Heights this week?
You know, I felt like, in a way, I felt like we kind of almost overlooked Birdville a little bit. I tried to tell them that they were coming out of a very, very tough district, that they would be battle tested, that they weren't going to bat an eye at us, that they had seen Grapevine, they'd seen Colleyville, they'd seen Argyle. They weren't a bit scared of us. I don't know that we took the message that seriously as a team until Friday night, and we were just like, well, and so I thought Saturday we came out as a different ball club. It was a lot more focused, a lot more serious, business-like approach, and I think it got their attention. And the message this week was, yeah, the team we're playing this week is talent-wise, we have more. Pitching-wise, they have 2 really good ones, maybe 3, that are good enough to beat us if we're not ready to play. And I said, whether they're more talented than us than not, or not, it's not. That may not matter.
All right.
It may come down to who can execute the small ball game, who can overcome an error, who can capitalize on somebody's mistake, and that may be the difference in the entire series.
Yeah.
I think it could be some low-scoring games because they're really talented on the mound.
For sure. And this Arlington Heights program, for those who don't know who are listening to this podcast, they've had a proud tradition for decades. You know, they had a great history. They won the Class 4A state title back in 1996. They had a great longtime head coach by the name of Tommy Elliott. Tommy was there for 100 years, it seemed like. And, of course, they're now led by Travis Rose. You just talked about their starting pitching being a real key to opposing. What else about this team impresses you?
They're very fundamentally sound. I've had a chance to watch them a couple of times, and they just don't make many mistakes. They're pretty disciplined at the plate. They shorten up their swings. They make adjustments really well. They're not going to beat themselves, and that's the key. I mean, the teams that don't beat themselves are usually the ones that survive, and so it's one of those teams that we're going to have to go and just beat them because they're not going to just hand it to us. They're not going to kick it around and beat themselves.
Yeah, extra outs or walks or anything like that. You've got to make sure that they earn everything, and then you have to take advantage of whatever breaks you get. And the thing about this pitching staff, as you mentioned, the two really good starters, they just got done sweeping Cleburne in the opening round last week, shut them out both meetings, 10-0 and 7-0. So the challenge that your lineup faces here, what's going to be the key about getting ready for these guys in terms of their philosophy, how they're going to try and change the eyes up and down, outside to inside? What's going to be key for your lineup against this group?
I really think we've got to have plate discipline. We've got to make sure we're making them throw strikes. They have a tendency of getting people to swing at stuff out of the zone. If we can keep from doing that, I feel like we can earn some walks, and I think we can put them in some situations to where we can, run some of our offense against them and put some pressure on them. But we're going to have to be disciplined at the plate.
So I would imagine so. And then, Luke, for you guys, it's because you did get the, if you will, the shock to the system with the loss to Birdville last Friday, but you all obviously emerged winning the series. How has that changed the preparation for this week for Heights, knowing that this is a really good squad, especially with two really good starting pitchers?
I think everybody is locked in a little more than usual. We had an indoor practice today because of the rain and stuff, and it was completely different than what any other indoor practice usually is. Everybody's focused in the cages, swinging the bats off the machines, and the pitchers. Everybody's doing their own thing for the most part, and they're all getting done what they need to get done. But yeah.
Okay, and then let's talk a little bit about your college situation here. Again, you're a junior right-hander. The offers that you have currently at the Division I level are Tarleton State out in Stephenville, the United States Air Force Academy, and UT Arlington. You also mentioned that you had a couple of D2 schools that have offered you as well. You have this kind of opportunities that have come your way here. What does that mean to you, just to have knowing that there's a chance that you can pitch in the college?
I'm really thankful, and it puts another chip on my shoulder to work harder. And so I know that I will be playing at a higher level, and so I'm going to keep working harder, whatever that looks like. And I'm not going to stop until I finish my baseball career.
And then you're going to be playing summer ball, I would presume?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what are your plans there? Now, Kayleigh obviously told us that she didn't even know what her plans were in the summer, but if you know, great, and if you don't, that's fine too. But how do you approach, I guess the better question would be is, how do you approach your summer, and what do you want to get out of your summer leagues?
I'm just wanting to get out as many looks as I can from different coaches in different areas. Right now, I have a lot of Texas schools that are interested in me. I love the coastal states like Florida and stuff, and I'd love to have a few of those schools come check me out as well. Okay,
and of course, the fact that you are touching 90, of course, Chad, you can speak to this. So if you're a high school pitcher and can touch 90, that's always going to catch somebody's attention, but it's also to command of those pitches too that's going to be key. So what do you see from the growth of his pitching that can put him in a position that maybe other schools, bigger Division I programs, maybe like a Baylor or even down the road TCU or somebody else like that could come along here and take a look at him further?
I think if he just gets them there to see him pitch and to see him command his fastball and the way it comes off his hand, and then to see the breaker he has, how tight spinning it is. It's a very sharp breaking curveball, slider, whatever you call it. And, we don't have one anybody else throws that's any sharper breaking than that. I mean,
is it 12-6?
It's pretty 12-6. It'll come out. 2.8 sometimes
Okay.
or whatever. But yeah,
Yeah.
But it's very tight
It's like
spinning,
a-
very sharp break.
Yeah.
slurve sometimes is what people call it.
Okay, got it. Because, when they say that the great curveball throwers, they used to call that Uncle Charlie, is how big when a great curveball thrower. You remember his name, Bert Blyleven, famous Hall of Fame pitcher for the Minnesota Twins and Cleveland Indians among those. He threw a great curveball that was actually nicknamed Lord Charles. I think you remember that terminology for him. But last thing for you, Chad, as we wrap this up. You talked about having great discipline, not making mistakes, but what else do you want to see out of your team this week against Arlington Heights that you didn't see against Birdville last week?
I think we could be more consistent at the plate, putting pressure on people, making adjustments, trying to hit the ball the other way, shortening up our swings at times. I think we can still make better adjustments, even more so than we did. But I would also like us to be a little more disciplined when we're on the bases. I thought we left some free bases out there on some high leg kicks and some balls in the dirt from first that we could have gone to second on. I also felt like, we made a base running mistake and took ourselves out of an inning in game one where we had a chance to push the lead to 3, and we kind of got caught freelancing and got thrown out at third. But sometimes those things happen. We get aggressive, and we preach aggressiveness, but at the same time, we still got to use our head and use some senses when we are being aggressive.
All right. A reminder that the Bearcats will play this area playoff series against Arlington Heights, a best-of-3 series. It will start at 7:30 on Thursday over at Aledo. That's game 1. Then game 2 is a 7:30 start on Friday at Arlington Heights. And if they need a third game to decide this series, it will be noon on Saturday at Saginaw High School. Luke, thanks for joining us. We really appreciate your time. And good luck to you this weekend, and good luck to you this summer, too, as you continue to chase that college dream.
Thank you.
All right. And, Chad, we wish you nothing but the best of luck this weekend. We hope to see you next week in a really good mood about this. And good luck to you all against Arlington Heights.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. And this Aledo Coaches Show podcast, as a reminder, is brought to you by H5 Sports Barn. H5 Sports Barn and Nye Physio and Performance can help unlock your athletic potential and elevate your game like the Aledo Bearcats. With expert sports physical therapy, tailored recovery plans, and top-notch sports performance training, H5 Sports Barn, proud supporters of the Aledo Bearcats. And by Hiley Mazda. Head to Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth today. Their new state-of-the-art facility is conveniently located just off of I-30, exit Las Vegas Trail, and experience top-notch service and hassle-free buying. Don't forget to ask about this month's special offers. Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth, family owned and operated for over 30 years. Again, next week, these two programs and their head coaches will be right back here to talk about how their playoffs went. Again, fingers crossed that we will have nothing but W's to talk about. We're talking about taking these teams into late May, early June. For my engineer, Brian Torres, and the Hank FM promotion staff, I'm Kevin Lonnquist. Thank you for being with us each week. We'll talk to you all next week from Blue Rays of New Orleans here in Hudson Oaks for the Aledo Coaches Show podcast. So long, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Aledo Coaches Show podcast, brought to you by H5 Sports Barn in Aledo and Hiley Mazda of Fort Worth. With the voice of the Bearcats, Kevin Lonnquist. Please like and subscribe to this podcast and tell a friend. You're also welcome to join us every Monday night at 7 for Blue Rays of New Orleans in Hudson Oaks. It's the Aledo Coaches Show podcast, a presentation of Real Country 92.1 Hank FM.